All right. 2014. That's why I got to do it. I had to do it. Real quick, there is an assignment for you tonight. You are journalists, right? Yes, you have an assignment. And a deadline. It's a 2-minute deadline. And here is what you're going to do. You are actually going to answer this question actually with your neighbor. And it is, can my journalists be activist? But there is a catch. Turn all the way to the final page of your program and pick 1, 2, 3, or 5, and at least to actually follow those instructions as you are speaking with your neighbor about this question. Is that clear? Just pick one. You pick any one you want. 1, 2, 3, or 5. Is that clear? Yes? Yes. Marks. Get set. Discuss. One more minute. 30 seconds. All right, thank you. Hello, thank you. Yes, my answer that quickly, how did it feel? Just real quick. Hard, impossible, awkward, enlightening. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. Yes, and because that is a small glimpse into the life of a stutterer, a severe adult stutterer like me. And from very early on, over and over again, I was actually told this, that Isaac is too dumb to talk. I heard it on the playground, I was really young, over and over again, and even as I tried to rock the words free or tap on the side of my head in order to get it just right so the words would go free, Isaac is too dumb to talk. Isaac is too dumb to talk. But I had two teachers. The first teacher was named Miss Clark. And she actually was an English teacher. She actually looked like an English teacher. And she was like tall, but she wasn't too tall. She was, she wasn't thin, but she wasn't really wide either. She actually wore those English teacher glasses on the tip of her nose with the chain behind her back. She looked the part of an English teacher. And one day in class, it was actually time, for a verbal assignment. Then she actually told the class, the entire class, she said, simply because Isaac will actually never be a public speaker. And it's like, therefore, we are actually not going to force him to do these assignments. And when she said that, I was overjoyed. It was so much relief. Finally, somebody understood, oh my God, that yes, I am not good enough, that I am not worthy, that I am too dumb to talk. She didn't use those words like the bullies on the playground, but she sent the same message anyway. Isaac is too dumb to talk. Many years later, I am a journalist, and I'm writing in all these places, and all these people are reading my words, and then I get calls from CNN and MSNBC and NPR, and they say, hey, dude, man, yes, there's some good stuff you're talking about here. Actually come on our shows. And then they heard that I was a severe stutterer, and then they said, never mind. For year after year after year after year, it went this way. So they did not use the words, Isaac is too dumb to talk, but they sent the same message. Now, imagine how actually sitting in an interview, and you have somebody who's asking you, where exactly do you see yourself in 5 years? And then you have to, actually think about whether or not you were actually going to sit there, and then you are actually going to silently snap your fingers in order to get into rhythm, or tap the side of your head looking crazy, or shuffling your feet. Because you simply because you know that if you stutter there, and then this comes back front and center again, and everybody questions your abilities, your intellect, your worth, again and again and again. And here is something that you actually need to know, is that I don't stutter because I'm nervous, or I talk too fast, or I did not get my words together beforehand. I stutter simply because my body does not work like yours. This is something that I need you to know also. My struggle on certain days, at least on my worst days, actually feels like a mama elephant sitting on my diaphragm. And I sort of actually have to find just the right rhythm in order to move that elephant just enough in order to get the words out right. My easy days, it is just a baby elephant sitting there. That's what it is. I am not different in the sense of difference. I am just me. And yet, most of this tapping and this rocking actually is not about me. It is actually about you. Simply because I am trying to make you more comfortable listening to me. And that is one of the oddest things about this world, is that the already burdened, at least actually take on this extra burden, just to make at least the privileged feel better. That's what we do, just so you can feel better, so you can actually feel more comfortable. But as a journalist, our job is to listen, even when it's hard, and especially when it is hard. Our job is to tell those stories that nobody else wants to tell or even wants to hear, even through a stutter or any other kind of burden. That is supposed to be our job, even for people who are too dumb to talk, even for people who don't smell good, don't look good, don't sound right. It is our job to reach beyond our own comfort. It is our job to try to understand better. Isaac is too dumb to talk. Stop sending that message. Stop sending that message to me and to others simply because you feel uncomfortable with my difference. It is exceedingly important. It is exceedingly important to stop silencing those folks like who are already voiceless. Our job, your job, is to do your job and do it better. Yes, so, and I'm actually going to wrap up with my second teacher, Miss Shiver, who was also an English teacher. And she did not tell me that I was too dumb to talk. This is what she did. At least before every sort of verbal assignment, she would actually pull me to the side, she would tap me on the shoulder, and she would say, Isaac, that I am actually going to actually call on all of your classmates in order. Yet, I'm actually going to look your way, and just when you are ready to talk, then I'm going to call on you instantly. And it worked. And it worked why? Simply because she actually gave me just a small sense of control, right in the world, where that I felt that I had none. So your job, our job as journalists, is to be more like Miss Shiver than Miss Clark. Your yes, and that means even if you actually have to tap me on the shoulder, actually let me tell my story just a little bit differently. Instead of always telling at least the stories of that you already know and tell well. Thank you.